Hi, this presentation is going to be on conflict. It was done by me, Christina Mendoza, and Justin Arrington. In this presentation, we're going to cover what conflicts are, myths about conflicts, social media mixed with conflicts, managing conflicts and how to productively disagree, and real-life experiences where you'll see how conflicts were resolved. So let's begin. Conflict can range from a simple disagreement between a boyfriend and a girlfriend to war between countries. Hawker and Wilmot described conflict as an expressed struggle between at least two independent parties who perceive incompatible goals, scarce resources, and interference from the other achieving their goal. This definition emphasizes the central role of communication. Most, not all, conflicts revolve around the lack of communication, whether it's between family members, in the workplace, or relationships. Conflicts usually cause discomfort between the participating parties, but it doesn't all have to be negative. Here are some myths about conflicts and their reality. Myth number 1. Conflict is harmful and should be avoided at all costs. This just simply isn't true. The reality is that conflict helps team members understand the issues more clearly. It also improves group discussions and increases group involvement. Myth number 2. Conflict is only caused by misunderstandings in communications. Again, this isn't true. Some conflicts go further than just communication issues and can be caused by differences in values, in goals, and limited resources. Myth number 3. All conflicts are resolvable. This again isn't true. Most of the time, conflicts based off basic values and goals have no resolution, no matter how hard you work on them. A conflict doesn't automatically help or hurt the group. What is important is to tell where the conflict came from, why it started, and how to manage it. Here are different types of conflicts and their roots. Substantive conflicts usually revolve around group tasks and disagreements over ideas and meanings. This conflict is usually very work-related, and because it has to do with tasks or projects, it's very beneficial to the group because it challenges current ideas and opens doors for new ideas. Affective conflict, on the other hand, tends to do more with people and personal feelings that are completely unrelated to the group task. It represents the who in the conflict and generally is very detrimental to the progression and the productivity of any group. Procedural conflicts, just like the word suggests, are conflicts based on how the group is functioning. These are usually disagreements like whether the group should make a decision based off consensus or vote. Now that computers and social media have become so popular, the norm is for people to communicate without that face-to-face interaction. Here are some positives and negatives to that found in a rare case study done on this matter. Once a conflict arises, it's very important that you deal with it. Here are some examples of managing styles that people use to deal with conflicts. One example of conflict management style is competition. This tends to be a very me, and win-win style of dealing with conflict, where the opposing parties, one if not all, simply just refuse to meet in the middle and give up. This tends to be very disruptive and harmful to any group. Another style is collaboration, which is a very positive way of managing conflict. This is a win-win situation for both parties where they can meet in the middle and be happy and proud of the work that they can do together. Accommodation is where the parties would just prefer to not talk about it and just deal with it. This is where, for example, someone would just rather do what they're told instead of bringing up conflicts and issues that they feel. Avoidance is very similar, where the team members would just rather avoid the problems and just not agree with anything and not bring up conflict points which they feel. And then there's compromise. This is a very give a little, get a little style of managing conflicts, where both parties can meet in the middle and the solution is fair all around for everyone. It is important to know not only how to manage a conflict, but know how to productively disagree when there is a conflict. Here are some tips that we came up with to how to productively disagree. First off, express your disagreements. Don't expect people to know automatically how you're feeling. Your team members, they aren't mind readers. With this tip, keep in mind timing. Don't wait until the last minute to speak up. And remember, you're very important to your group. Don't deprive them of you and your thought process. We all have something very important and different to bring to the table. Secondly, be sensitive towards others and their feelings. Don't attack them or criticize them or judge them. And don't get overly emotional. Try to stay neutral and objective to the conflict. And most importantly, be respectful. Lastly, here's a tip on how to react when someone disagrees with something that you're saying. Try to, again, stay objectively. Don't react negatively. They're not attacking you. Ask for clarification and show interest in what they're saying because it could. The advantage of a group conflict over an individual conflict is that several heads are better than one. One way of dealing with several different ideas on the resolution of one single conflict is the nominal group technique, which is a process where everybody gets an equal say in the discussion and the decision. What we have here is the nominal group technique chart, and this is how it works. First off, you state the problem very clear to everybody in the group. Then group members work alone to come up with a list of solutions. Next, the list is read and recorded on a chart for the entire group to see. Everybody reads them and ranks the best possible solution. Votes are counted, and once all the votes are in, a group discussion is open to make sure that everybody agrees and that the decision is made. This technique is a great way to make sure that everybody feels involved in the group decision and to not exclude anybody. The resolution of a problem can come down to simple negotiation. Here are some steps to properly negotiate a conflict. First, make sure to separate the people from the problem. Don't lose objectivity due to strong emotions. Secondly, look at the group's interests, not position. Don't stake out and keep arguing a point that you know is going nowhere. Third, brainstorm. The more you do it, the more creative ways you can come up with dealing with this conflict. And lastly, stay objective. Evaluate the situation and use criteria to make sure. Next, we have 3 different examples of conflicts that played out between different kinds of people and how they were resolved and what should have been done versus what happened. First, we have an example of conflict management. This is a situation where both Rosa and Juan are co-owners of a bakery here in town. Rosa wants to stay open until 4, which is the regular closing hours for them, because she feels like breakfast and lunch are more of their thing. Juan, on the other hand, wants to experiment and stay open until 8 to serve a new crowd and to open the doors to new customers. Rosa thinks that people won't come and more money would be wasted than earned. The 2 most successful conflict management styles for this situation would be compromise and collaboration. Compromise, where Juan simply says he understands where she's coming from, but why don't they try to stay open till at least 6:30 for a while to see how things go. And collaboration, where Juan again says he understands where her concern lies, but what if they did a happy hour promotion to attract new customers? That way money is being made and not wasted. This next example is about David and his 2 children, Nick and Tony. They have been begging him for a pet now for a while, so David went out and got them a dog. But on one condition, that they would both come up with and agree with a schedule to share the responsibilities of having a dog. This opens the floor for great negotiation and great compromise. The negotiation that they came up with was that on the nights that Nick had soccer practice, Tony would walk the dog, and then on the nights that Tony had basketball practice, Nick would walk the dog. They also compromised on sharing the responsibility of bathing the dog, and they would alternate between baths so that it was fair for everybody. This next situation is about Ben and his mother and his wife, who are having a bit of a disagreement. Ben and his mom has always been very close, and it's starting to affect the relationship between Ben and his wife, Janet. One afternoon, Ben, Janet, and their daughter were sitting down eating dinner when Ben's mom comes in the house and immediately points out that the daughter's hands are dirty and starts reprimanding her and makes her get up in the middle of her dinner and go wash her hands. This made Janet very upset because she didn't understand how she could just come in the house and start reprimanding their daughter. Janet brings this up to the attention of Ben, who just says, "Why are you making this a big deal?" This has happened previously before, and Janet feels uncared for and wants to address the situation. What we have here is a prime example of effective conflict, where personalities between Janet and Ben's mom just aren't mixing right, and there's a lot of conflict to be dealt with. What should happen, and the best way to resolve this issue, would be a collaboration between Janet and Ben. They should focus on the we of the relationship instead of Ben making Janet feel alone and as if she's not being heard in the situation. Also, once that happens, there could be a compromise between Janet, Ben, and their mom, and his mom, because his mom's not going anywhere. And once that discussion is made, they can compromise on what is in line and out of line for Ben's mom to say. And this last slide that we have here is our reference page. These are the links to the photos that we used and the examples that we took directly from text. Me, Christina, and Justin definitely want to thank you for letting us share this with you. I hope you enjoyed our presentation, and I hope you have a great day or night.